When we engage in a behavior that we regret or that we don't like, we often respond in one of two ways. One way is to tell ourselves or others that we're just not going to do it again. The other way is to pretend like it didn't happen and bury our head in the sand. Unfortunately, neither of these methods is effective at reducing the likelihood of that behavior happening again. In fact, they may increase the probability of that behavior reoccurring, but that's a talk for another time. To truly change a behavior in a sustained way, we must understand the causes of the behavior and the consequences that are helping to keep the behavior around. One way to assess these factors is a strategy in dialectical behavior therapy known as chain analysis. Over the next few minutes, we're going to provide a crash course in chain analysis so that you can use this technique to help change behaviors that are getting in the way of you achieving your goals. Keep in mind that this video is just an overview of the technique and is not meant to be completely comprehensive or used in place of therapy. Let's begin by describing the elements of the chain. The first element that we focus on is the problem behavior, the behavior that we want to change. A problem behavior can be any number of things that you're looking to change. It can be yelling at your partner, forgetting to empty the dishwasher, placing a distracting animation in the middle of my talk. Once we define the problem behavior, we can move backwards or forwards to identify the other elements. Going backwards, we have something called the prompting event. This is the event that set off the chain leading to the target behavior. It's like the first domino to fall. If the prompting event hadn't occurred, then you likely would not have engaged in the problem behavior. Even earlier than the prompting event, we can identify vulnerability factors. Vulnerability factors refer to anything that makes us vulnerable to the prompting event in that instant. Being tired, hungry, lonely, in physical pain are examples of common vulnerability factors. The next element is links in the chain. These links describe what happened between the prompting event and the problem behavior. Links can be our behaviors, another person's behaviors, our thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations. Imagine that you're watching a movie in slow motion and you can identify each precise factor that led to some big climactic scene. This is what we're doing when we're documenting links. We're looking at the precise details between the prompting event and the problem behavior so that we can later identify potential solutions. The last element of the chain analysis is consequences. Consequences refers to what happens following the problem behavior. There are two types of consequences, short-term and long-term. Long-term consequences are interesting and they can give us some useful information. And in chain analysis, we're often more focused on the immediate or short-term consequences because they have way more impact on the likelihood of the behavior occurring again. For example, the immediate pleasure of eating 2 cartons of ice cream is far more impactful on future ice cream eating behavior than the stomach ache we may experience a half hour later. Now that we have all the elements detailed, let's put them to work in the following example. Alex and Molly were having a night in. Alex made Molly's favorite meal a vegan meatloaf, and they proceeded to watch a movie. Once the movie ended, Molly headed upstairs to bed while Alex went to turn off all the downstairs lights. When he entered the kitchen, he noticed that Molly had not put the dirty dishes from dinner in the dishwasher. Alex had earlier reminded Molly 3 times to put the dishes away, and they were still in the sink. Alex ran upstairs to their bedroom and started yelling at Molly. "You never listened to me. I asked you 100 times to put the dishes away, and they're still in the sink." "Stop freaking out. They're just dishes," Molly responded. Alex then begins to scream. "Just dishes? It's not just the dishes. You never listen to me. You're such a bleep hole. I'm leaving." Alex stormed out of the house and ran to his car. While sitting in his car, Alex began to cry. "Why do I blow up like that?" "Great question, Alex. Let's use a chain analysis to help you understand why you blow up, the target behavior, so that we can figure out solutions for the future." Alex identifies the target behavior as screaming at Molly and calling her a bleep hole. Alex then identifies the prompting event that set this whole kerfuffle into motion. If Alex hadn't seen the dirty dishes in the sink, he likely wouldn't have started yelling at Molly. So seeing the dirty dishes could be one prompting event. However, Alex identifies another prompting event that's closer in time to his target behavior, when Molly invalidated his feelings by telling him to stop freaking out. Alex acknowledges that he had some vulnerability factors going into the evening. He was exhausted from work and feeling stressed out about an upcoming project. These factors made him more vulnerable to Molly's comments than he might have been otherwise. Now, if we slow things down, Alex points out a series of links between Molly telling him to stop freaking out and then calling her a bleep hole. First, he noticed the thoughts, "Molly never takes me seriously," and "she doesn't care about me," which were accompanied by feelings of sadness and anger. Alex observed his heart racing and physical discomfort. He noticed the thought, "This is unbearable," and wanting to get rid of that discomfort as quickly as possible. Then Alex noticed the thought, "If I'm not worth her time, then I'm going to tell her off and leave," accompanied by feelings of resentment and righteous indignation. And so Alex engages in his problem behavior of screaming at Molly. Alex notices that telling Molly off had the short-term consequence of cueing feelings of strength and empowerment, which felt good to him. It also had the long-term consequences of bringing about feelings of shame and regret. Now, what do we do with all this information? Understanding the factors or components that contribute to the presence of a problem behavior is necessary in order to best identify how to effectively make changes in the future. Over time, chains reveal patterns in how we react to certain events, thoughts, and feelings. With this information, we can break the chain of ineffective behavior and make wiser choices in the future. For Alex, solutions may include using distress tolerance skills when he notices that his emotions are prompting him to engage in this screaming behavior. Solutions may also include checking the facts and considering if the intensity of his anger fits the facts of Molly's invalidation, and if not, then modulating his behavior in response. A solution may also include for Alex to effectively communicate to Molly how leaving the dirty dishes impacts him, or to mindfully experience his emotions without acting on them. Now that we have this chain, we can identify several solutions to help Alex behave more effectively in the future. And the same goes for us. Using chains is a great way to understand and change our behavior so that we are more likely to behave in ways that help us achieve our goals and are consistent with our values.